My wife left me after I funded her business, claiming I was no longer on her level, and she went off with her app. However, now that her business has failed and her app did this to her, she's begging for another chance. I met Sarah in college. We got married right after graduation, and I took a boring corporate job at an insurance company while she worked on her dream. She wanted to build a fitness app for new moms, something about postpartum workouts and community support. For 3 years, I paid all our bills while Sarah worked 80-hour weeks coding and pitching to investors. Our tiny apartment, our groceries, our car payments, everything came from my salary. I didn't mind though. I believed in her. I'd come home from work and she'd be sitting at our kitchen table surrounded by energy drinks and notebooks, still in her pajamas from 2 days ago. I'd make dinner and bring it to her because she'd forget to eat. We were a team. In 2022, her app finally launched. It was called MomStrong and it blew up faster than either of us expected. Within 6 months, she had 200,000 downloads. A year later, she had 2 million users and venture capital firms throwing money at her. Sarah moved the company into a real office downtown and hired 15 people. Our lives completely changed overnight. Suddenly, we were going to fancy investor dinners and tech conferences. Sarah was getting interviewed by magazines and podcasts. She'd come home talking about growth metrics and Series B funding rounds, stuff I didn't really understand. I was still just working my same insurance job, processing claims and sitting in boring meetings, but I was proud of her. Then things started shifting in ways I didn't see coming. Sarah began making comments about my job. Little digs at first, like asking when I was going to do something more ambitious with my life. She'd compare me to her new employees who were apparently all geniuses changing the world. When I reminded her that I'd supported us for 3 years so she could build this company, she'd say that was different. That was just paying bills, not real ambition. Her friends from the tech world started coming around more. These startup founders and investors who talk about disruption and scaling and exits. They'd barely acknowledge me when I walked into my own living room. Sarah stopped introducing me as her husband and started just saying, "This is Kyle," like I was some random roommate. The final conversation happened in March. We were eating takeout on our couch and Sarah turned to me with this serious expression. She said we needed to talk about our future. I thought maybe she wanted to start trying for kids or buy a house. Instead, she told me she'd been doing a lot of thinking and realized we were on different paths now, that she'd outgrown our relationship and needed to be with someone who matched her energy and ambition. I just stared at her holding my sesame chicken, completely frozen. She kept talking about how I was holding her back, how her therapist said she needed to surround herself with people who challenged her to grow, that staying with me would be settling. She moved out 2 weeks later into a luxury apartment downtown. The divorce was quick because we didn't have much to split. The company was entirely in her name since she founded it. I'd never asked to be on the paperwork because I trusted her. For the next year, I'd see updates about MomStrong everywhere. Sarah on magazine covers, Sarah speaking at conferences, Sarah announcing a $10 million funding round. My friends would send me links asking if I was okay seeing my ex-wife become famous. Then in January of this year, everything fell apart for her. Some cybersecurity firm discovered that MomStrong had been collecting way more user data than disclosed. Location tracking, private messages between moms, even photos from their phones, all being sold to third-party advertisers without permission. The story went viral, but not in a good way. Users started deleting the app in massive waves. Several moms filed a class action lawsuit claiming their private postpartum depression conversations were being used to target them with ads. Apple and Google temporarily removed MomStrong from their app stores pending investigation. Sarah's investors pulled out. Half her staff quit. The company she built for 5 years basically collapsed in 6 weeks. Last Tuesday, Sarah showed up at my apartment at 9 p.m. I almost didn't recognize her. She'd lost weight, her hair was messy, and she was wearing old sweatpants instead of her usual designer clothes. She started crying the second I opened the door, said she made the biggest mistake of her life leaving me, that none of her tech friends stuck around when things got bad, that she realized I was the only person who ever really believed in her. She asked if we could try again, start over, maybe I could help her rebuild. I stood there looking at her and thought about all those nights I made dinner while she worked, how I believed in her when nobody else did, how she told me I wasn't ambitious enough and that I was holding her back. I told her I hoped she figured things out and closed the door. I'm not her backup plan when the world she chose falls apart.